Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Yellowstone, and this presentation was made by me, Isabel, and Gabriella. So some background on Yellowstone. Yellowstone was the first national park to be declared a national park on March 1st, 1872. People most often visit Yellowstone to see the geysers and the wildlife. Yellowstone's wildlife is abundant and diverse and has an estimated 300 species of birds, 16 types of fish, and 67 species of mammals. Yellowstone is about 3,500 square miles, and to put that in perspective, the Big Island of Hawaii is about 4,000 square miles, so it's a little smaller than the Big Island of Hawaii. Yellowstone is on the border of Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana, as you can see in the map. And Yellowstone is formed by a series of volcanic eruptions. So the park is made of a volcano, which we will hear more about that later.
So Yellowstone National Park is known to be one of the most geologically dynamic areas on Earth. This is due to a shallow source of magma and resulting volcanic activity. Sedimentation and erosion actively shape Yellowstone's landscape, and it is surrounded on all sides by mountainous terrains with peaks that reach up to 3,000 to 4,000 meters high. And the youngest rocks found here are between 100 to 150 years old. Meanwhile, the oldest rocks date back to around 2.7 billion years. And the most common type of rocks found here are gneiss and schist, which are both metamorphic rocks.
Right. A caldera is a large bowl-shaped area formed when a volcano erupts and then collapses. Looking at the diagram, you can see that the different types of volcanoes. The caldera looks very different from the rest as it is not a mountain. A caldera is the kind of volcano that Yellowstone is. And you can see the caldera of Yellowstone outlined in black on the colored map and red on the satellite view. The reason there are geysers in the caldera is because that is where a thinner layer of magma is.
The different types of rocks in Yellowstone there are lots of different types of rocks in Yellowstone, but the two main ones we're going to focus on today are gneiss and schist. They're both metamorphic rocks, meaning they're formed from heat and pressure, and they are both foliated, meaning you can see the lines when you look at the rocks, and they are both coarse grained, meaning they're not smooth and the grains are a little bigger. And gneiss is made from feldspar, quartz, and mica, which are three different types of minerals. And if you were here earlier and saw Travis and Ramsey's presentation, they talked more about that. And then schist is made from shale and mudstone. And the picture on the left is of gneiss, and the picture was taken from the Lamar River, which is sort of towards the top of the park, closer to Montana. And the picture on the right is a picture of schist, just a general picture of schist.
Right. The timeline of Yellowstone. 50 million years ago is when we get our first petrified trees. Then 2.1 million years ago is the first major eruption of the Yellowstone volcano. And it covered more than 5,790 square miles of ash and was from the Hucklereach Tuff. 1.3 million years ago was the second major eruptions at the Mesa Falls Tuff. And 150,000 years ago was the oldest lakes that are created by explosions were made. 770,000 years ago was the last great eruption at the Pitchstone Plateau. And there have been about 80 really minor eruptions in the caldera since then. On March 1st, 1872, Yellowstone was made our first national park. Yay! And in 1959, a magnitude 7.9 earthquake occurred in the caldera, upsetting the local magma. And we only have two intervals, but the average eruptions in Yellowstone are about 730,000 years apart. Supervolcanoes. What is a supervolcano? A supervolcano is just a volcano that has an eruption magnitude of 8 on the Volcano Explosivity Index, which you can see over here. And to put this in perspective, this is Yellowstone's oldest and biggest thing. And the tiny green dot down there is Mount St. Helens. Yellowstone, California's Long Valley, Japan's Era Caldera, Indonesia's Toba, and New Zealand's Taupo are all supervolcanoes.
So what would happen if the supervolcano erupts? From what is known, 3 very big eruptions have taken place in the last 2.1 million years, with the most recent taking place approximately 70,000 years ago. And it seems the reoccurrence interval between the explosion is of around 600,000 to 800,000 years. So that being the case, as of now, we would have around 100,000 years to go. So it is likely we won't get to experience the explosion in our lifetime. And even if this were true, this is just the average of 2 intervals, which is kind of unreliable. But in short, it is difficult to predict when exactly the next eruption would take place. But if another large eruption were to possibly occur, it is believed that its effects would be worldwide, because such a huge eruption would not only have regional effects, but it is believed it could even make short-term changes, lasting years to decades, to global climate as a result from all the falling mass.
We know that Yellowstone is on a hotspot, but what is a hotspot? A hotspot is a fixed place underneath the Earth that is not subject to tectonic plates, where magma gets pushed up and from under the mountains. The hotspot does not move, but as the tectonic plates move, the location of the hotspot changes. We witnessed this with Hawaii, and that is why there are multiple islands of Hawaii, because there's one hotspot making volcanoes, which makes an island, and then the crust moves, which moves the volcano, and then the hotspot is still there, causing a new volcano. And this is what we also see in Yellowstone. And with the map on the right, you can see that the hotspot, it's the same hotspot in every picture, or in every red dot, but as the crust moves, it moves the location. So 15 million years ago, the hotspot was where we now know as Nevada, and it is now where we know as the caldera of Yellowstone. Thank you, and these are our sources.